Hey y'all, so good to see you. Welcome back to another journal entry. I celebrated a birthday this week. I turned 29 years old, so this entry is called 29 and Feeling Fine. I turned 29 this week, and by what seems like some miracle, I feel the best I've ever felt. It's a miracle because I used to fear being this age. Over the past few years, I have gone from feeling like my best years are behind me to truly believing that my life is only going to get better from here. Let me tell you how it all went down. If you're a person on this earth, you know the narrative that surrounds aging, especially for women. As a woman, once you approach 30, you're no longer young and therefore no longer desirable by society at large unless you put time, money, and energy into maintaining the physical characteristics of a 16-year-old. Add that to the ticking of your biological clock and the narrative that your 20s are the best years of your life, and you get a pressure cooker of a decade that's bound to explode by the time it's over. In my early 20s, the age of 29 felt like a faraway destination that I would someday reach when I was done having all the fun I would ever have. I dreaded getting to that point, but I didn't have to think about it yet. I could still be young and carefree for a little while longer. By 25, I was cocky and sure I'd peaked. In my mind, I was as youthful, liberated, and sexy as I'd ever be. I was no longer in my early 20s, not yet in my late ones, just in that sweet middle ground where I was young enough to be free and mature enough to know all the secrets of life. Every age I turned from here would be a slow decline towards physical decay and the loss of everything that made me feel passionate about life. It makes me laugh now. I approached 26 reluctantly. It was my understanding that since I was now in the second half of my 20s, I had to get serious. The fountain of my youth was drying up, so I'd better enjoy it while it lasts before it would inevitably be time to settle down. Soon, I would be too old for new experiences, too old to take risks, and too old to explore the curiosities I still had about what my life could look like. By 27, everything had fallen into place. I had perfectly designed my life to be one of stability and domestic bliss. I knew every next step I needed to take to be a mature adult and feel fulfilled in life. Here was my timeline, and let me know if this sounds familiar. At 28, I would feel solid in my career and get engaged. At 29, get married. At 30, buy my first home. Also at 30, get pregnant. At 31, give birth. At 32, find my footing as a mother. At 33, advance in my career. At 34, baby number 2. And from 35 onwards, raise children, solidify my career path, save for my family's future, and take one vacation per year until retirement. It was supposed to bring me comfort, I thought, to know exactly which milestones I needed to reach and when to lead me to the promised land of emotional, spiritual, and financial fulfillment. But on the contrary, it filled me with so much anxiety that I couldn't wake up without immediately feeling like a prisoner of my own making. Each of these milestones felt arbitrary, and I didn't see myself in any of them. By 28, my gut was telling me, or rather, screaming at me, to abandon the path I was on and be brave enough to consider that I might find fulfillment in some other way. At this point, I was terrified of following my intuition because I knew I would have to make some really tough changes to appease it. I would have to go from being set for life to starting from scratch at an age where doing so could be seen as irresponsible and a massive failure. My fear came from all the unknowns. If I strayed from the path, how would I know what to do next? What if I let it all go and it turns out to be a huge mistake and I end up alone forever with no money, no direction, and no sense of who I am? But on the other hand, what if I spend the rest of my years feeling trapped in a life I don't want and have to live with the regret of not taking a single risk because I was too scared and thought I was too old? As it turns out, my fear of regret is stronger than my fear of making a mistake. Thank God. Now, at 29, I don't have many of the things I thought I needed to have by this point. I thought that would make me feel behind, but now that I'm here, living without the comforts I once sought after, I'm finding that it's not scary at all. It's liberating. My timeline is gone with the wind, and I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. In fact, I've never had less FOMO in my entire life. If you had told me 4 years ago that at age 29, I would leave the stability of my life behind to use up my savings and move to Europe with no job and no boyfriend, I would have scoffed in your face. Sorry. But at age 25, this wasn't something I even let myself dream was possible. Remember, I was supposed to be getting married this year. The ironic part is, I don't think I would have gotten here if I hadn't pursued the path I was originally pursuing. Had I not followed my initial timeline, I wouldn't have learned it wasn't right for me, and I would probably still be chasing it today. I'm just grateful that I listened to my instincts when they told me to stop chasing it. Letting go of the life I'd planned for was really hard. I questioned whether or not I was doing the right thing, but there was always a sliver of something telling me I was. I clung to that, and I trusted that on the other side of all this pain would be something better than I could ever imagine. That one simple act of following my intuition has instilled a new level of trust within myself that has propelled me into living a life I feel proud to be living. I truly believe that I can do anything now. This is not a belief I had at 25. Pardon my French. Kids, cover your ears. But I fucking love being 29. At 29, I'm brave. The fear of taking risks, making mistakes, and facing myself used to scare me into staying still. I know now that I'm strong enough to get through the hard stuff, so I have the courage to do what intimidates me, even if my hands are shaky. Usually, it results in something good. At 29, there are no more milestones I feel like I have to reach. They've turned to dust, and in their place is a newfound faith that as long as I keep following my instincts, dreams, and desires, I will always be where I need to be. At 29, I'm confident in a whole new way. I was confident at 25, but it was different. I was outgoing, stylish, smart, and fun, and I needed everyone to know it. I'm still all of those things, but I don't feel like I need to prove it anymore. I believed 29 would mark the end of the best years of my life. I did a great disservice to myself by thinking this way. How silly to think that those years that were run by fear, anxiety, and a need for validation were my best ones. I had no faith that I could create a life for myself that felt good to live, but I have proved myself dead wrong. While I could look at my years of feeling trapped into a timeline as a waste, I genuinely believe that there are no mistakes. As long as you keep listening to your instincts, trusting yourself, and stay open to change, you're always on the right track. You never know how you'll feel about something unless you try it. At 29, I'm only just getting started. The fun is not over. In fact, the fun is only getting better because I am getting better. I now know how to live my life in a way that feels aligned, peaceful, and true to me. And honestly, I don't think I've ever been sexier. Okay, that's all. Thank you for watching this far. Please, if you heard anything that you connected with in this entry, tell me in the comments. I love to hear it. I want to know your experiences. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this with everyone you know, okay? Okay, thank you. God, I love ya. I'll see you next time.